Evergreen Show, taking your business from seed to sapling to towering giant. With your hosts, best-selling author and business growth experts Noah Fleming and Shawn Veltman. This is the only show that gives you proven, pragmatic, and immediately applicable business growth strategies every week in 15 minutes or less. Here's Noah and Shawn.
Well, hello everyone. Here we are for a bonus episode of the Evergreen Show. Shawn, can you believe it? This is a bonus episode coming out, I think a little bit before the normal podcast comes out every Monday.
This is fantastic. I'm always excited to talk to you, and especially for our first ever bonus episode.
Well, let's tell everybody why it's a bonus episode. Because the new book that Shawn and I co-authored together called Dealing with Difficult Customers is coming out right about now. Now, I'm hoping you're hearing this on Sunday, which means it's coming out tomorrow on Monday. What is that day? Monday,
November 20th.
November 20th. Thank you very much. So the book is called Dealing with Difficult Customers, How to Turn Your Demanding, Dissatisfied, and Disagreeable Clients into Your Best Customers. Two really interesting things that I want to share with our listeners. First, we have a fabulous foreword to the book from Deborah Margulies, who's the president of Michael Kors Canada, also a client. Very awesome to have that. And then we have a wonderful endorsement from Mr. Marshall Goldsmith, who's probably one of the top, perhaps maybe the top professional CEO, executive coach in the entire world. Would you agree with that?
I would. Marshall's fantastic. His books are excellent, and I'm actually working on a project with him right now. He's a fabulous thinker, incredibly influential.
Awesome. So we're doing a bonus episode today because, quite frankly, we want you to go and order the book. And we think you should order the book, especially if you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time. Now, you might be thinking, well, all my customers are great. I don't really have that many difficult customers. And Shawn, I think the really cool thing to me about this book is that there's a twist. There's a twist in this book. It's not what you expect. Do you want to share what the twist is, or do you want me to do it?
I'll share my perspective on it, and then you may have something to add.
Sure, sounds good.
So, one of the main things that we had in mind when we were writing this book was that so much of the discourse in the field of customer service is about, how to respond. What I like to call clever comebacks to stupid customers. And, we were really, really conscious of avoiding that, because what we've seen in our work is that that's almost never applicable as a long-term solution. So often when we're working with clients, what's actually needed is much more than just handing people over, a set of things to say to shut up the most disgruntled customers.
So I think you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly it. A lot of people will look at this book just strictly based on the title, and they will think it's exactly that, a list of responses, a list of things their people can say. It's not reactive in that sense. It's not about giving you things to say after the incident or a disgruntled, disagreeable customer comes in front of you, although we do cover that. This is about looking internally and looking at your business and your company and yourself with a good, critical eye and asking yourself, maybe there's something we can be doing to not have disagreeable or difficult customers. And so this, to me, I think this is like the grand twist. This is the great reveal that is not very clear or evident until you actually start reading the book. And then the best thing about it is it makes the book so much more valuable and so much more applicable to almost any business out there. So I'm really stoked about this book, Shawn.
As am I. I think there's a lot of really practical exercises and strategies we put in there, because one of the things we've both seen when we work with companies, whether they're relatively small or giants, is that success really comes from discipline, right? And this isn't going to be a surprise to anybody who's listened to, even one of our previous podcasts, but we both recognize and help companies understand that real success comes from doing the simple, sometimes boring, unsexy things consistently in order to create great experiences. And I think that's one of the core messages of the book. I'm a little biased, but I think we did a pretty good job in bringing these to light, bringing some of the practices of really high-performing organizations into small enough and easy enough to use strategies and tactics that anybody can start putting this into place and see a really dramatic change in the way that they're dealing with their customers.
Well, yeah, don't be so humble. We did a fantastic job of doing this. So some of these things we've talked about before. One of the best and most effective and useful processes that I think has ever been used in a business is the Fedex hierarchy of horrors. Fedex, for example, and we've written about this, I'm sure we've talked about it on the podcast. They said, excuse me for 1 second, but they said, what are we doing to create difficult or dissatisfied or disagreeable customers? And so they got all their executives in a room and they asked those tough questions. They didn't just say, how do we deal with it once we screw something up for the customer? They said, what are we doing as a business provider, as a service provider that's causing those feelings? And so they created a list of the 8 to 10 worst things that they do for their customers. And then they systematically work towards fixing each one of those. And so that became known as the hierarchy of horrors. We steal this and we use it for 99% of the companies that we work with, especially when they're focused on customer experience and customer service, because it's such a simple and effective way to find these situations in your company that really cause these situations and cause these unhappy customers. But Shawn, why don't you give our listeners a little bit of a taste of some of the other tools they'll find in the book?
Sure. So, one of the things that we start the book with is a discussion about why customers can get so angry or disagreeable in the first place. And there's some really fascinating psychology behind how quickly and how passionately our customers can feel wronged or feel angry at us. And so we talk about ways to recognize that, to understand it, and some tools that are really helpful in order to work with that when you see it happening. On the strategic side and on the side of things that companies can do to really create lasting change, we provide 3 key tools that we've seen in use really successfully at a lot of companies. And these are internal benchmarking. So not trying to look outside, not trying to impose some order from, just because you thought of it, but rather taking a look at what's actually happening, taking a look at the bright spots in your organization and learning from that. We talk about the importance of role playing and script booking. So, we said at the start, this isn't about snappy comebacks to stupid customers. And in our world, that's not what a script book is. What a script book does is allows us to understand what's on the minds of our customers and clients, what's actually causing problems, and help us prepare to face that in advance. And that, of course, is where the practice of role-playing comes in, dedicating time and taking responsibility for training your people. A lot of companies and a lot of people ask us, what should we be looking for when we hire somebody for customer service? How can we hire somebody that will solve all our problems? And the answer really, of course, is you can't. You have to have an internal structure. You have to have a commitment internally to train people and to continue getting better. And that's where the discipline of role playing comes in so handy.
So I love this book because, one of the things that you've heard me say multiple times, and one of the things I've said on the show before, is that everybody wants to be like Zappos and Amazon. And there's, I think, once I looked, there was 6,000 books written about Zappos. And Zappos, the famous shoe retailer, was known for doing whatever they could to alleviate the concerns of a disgruntled or dissatisfied customer. And the short answer to that is you're not Zappos, right? You're not a $1 billion shoe company. You don't have Amazon backing you. And so a lot of my clients that think they can just do this and follow the Zappos model, they get themselves into trouble really quick because they find out they're giving away things they don't necessarily need to give. The solutions that they're providing aren't really fixing the core root situations. And so that's the key. You need to dig deeper. You need to find the root of the problems, and you need to essentially root them out.
It's interesting, and we see this a lot. People say, I read this article about Zappos or Apple or Amazon or whatever, and we're gonna start doing that here. And they completely ignore the culture and the history of those companies, which is why those practices work and why they can work in that company. Companies who just adopt one of Zappos's principles without adopting the rest of it are going to have a really hard time when their return rates go through the roof, when they're paying postage, when they're having people on the phone for 12 hours with customers to delight them, but not having any of the other pieces in place that made Zappos so successful. And it's the same with Amazon and Apple. And when you start saying, "Oh, we're just going to have a really good design," and that's why Apple was successful. They design things really sexily, and if we do that, we'll be successful. And without having all the other pieces in place, it ends up becoming a fad of the month. And it's why, as we've talked about before, a lot of times internal people, your employees, your direct reports, end up getting burnt out on the new changes. And so what I think we've done really successfully in the book is helped to lay out a system that will avoid that piecemeal picking of things that work, avoid the fad of the month, and really create a structure for long-term success in creating great experiences for customers.
Yeah, and it's funny when I think back to companies like Zappos and Amazon and Apple, I think what you said there is key, is they didn't just decide that the process is do whatever you can to make the customer happy. You can bet a lot of money that behind the scenes, they had really thought through the things that we're talking about in the book. They had really defined processes for how they were going to accomplish these things. They had really considered things like the hierarchy of horrors and what were the things that were likely to upset their customers. More importantly, they had script booked and how to actually respond in some of these situations. And I can guarantee you they role play regularly. And so these are all the things that we talk about. We give you the tools to actually do these things within your company, regardless of size. I think, and Shawn, I'm going out on a limb here, but anybody in sales, marketing, or customer service and senior leadership should be reading this book.
I agree 100%. If you're in a role where you're in the trenches, you're dealing with clients and customers every day, pick this up. You're going to get some skills out of it, and you're going to get some things that you can petition your bosses, your managers to give resources for, because this is so important. And if you are in a leadership role, pick it up, take a look at the practices that we recommend, and commit some time and some resources to putting them into place in your organization. And when you do this, you're going to see incredible changes.
I was just thinking there as you were talking that there's a lot of businesses that are going to be getting this book from me as a gift. And I'm going to be sending it because of something that has happened. So I can already identify probably, a couple of banks that are going to be getting a number of copies as a early warming Christmas gift, a couple of cell phone providers that are going to be getting it. And, perhaps even a few smaller companies that I've dealt with where I've just seen things and recognized things that would be so simple for them to fix, so simple for them to improve, that would have such a dramatic impact. But for the rest of you, the rest of the people listening here who I may not know personally, or I may not be frequenting your business or sending you a copy of the book gratis, please definitely pick up a copy because it'll be a great and fantastic investment in your business. So Shawn, we are still under 15 minutes here. What else you want to add here today?
Well, in every episode, and I don't think the bonus episode should be any different, we give homework. I'm going to give a really simple piece of homework here. Go out and buy the book.
That's some good homework. I like how direct and blunt you are with that. More importantly, I'll extend a little bonus to those that do buy the book. So if you buy the book and you have some questions or you have some concerns or you're trying to figure out how to implement these things in your business, reach out to us. And I will make you a promise right now that we will respond. So pick up the book. Definitely buy it for your team. If you want to talk about some bulk purchases for your entire company or for departments or for groups of people, whoever that is, reach out to us and we'll definitely work with you to build some sort of bonus or some sort of extra gift, whether we come and talk to your team, we do some additional work with you. We can always work something out. This is a barter economy. So let's do things together, folks. Shawn, anything else before I close this out here?
I think that covers it, and I look forward to our next regularly scheduled podcast.
Well, I'm hoping the next regular scheduled podcast is tomorrow on Monday, and you should be hearing this on Sunday. The book officially out November 20th. Everywhere books are sold. It's called Dealing with Difficult Customers by myself, Noah Fleming, and my co-author, Shawn Veltman. You're going to love this book, folks. That's it, Shawn. That's all I got.
Have a great one, guys, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to join us each and every week for another great episode of The Evergreen Show with your hosts, Noah Fleming and Shawn Veltman. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review, and we'll catch you next time on The Evergreen Show.